Hey folks, it's Abby from Abby of Pellinor, and today on this very warm Yorkshire day I am going to be looking into how my stats are doing so far this midway through 2023. I can't believe that we are halfway through the year already, and I think I say this every single year, so the passage of time is not something that I'm great with, but here we are, it is 2023, and I have read more books than I had actually aimed to read by this point in the year. So let's just dive straight in. First up, I have read 40 books. I wanted to read 50 the whole year. I was supposed to take it chill and go through the book slowly. This isn't happening. I'm reading just as much. I've discovered that I'm gonna do that until my TBR seems less. So that's going well. I think I've bought less books so far this year than I had at the same time last year, so that's good. I don't have as many books coming in. She says looking at a stack of 7 books that Olivia just sent her, but still, in those 40 books that have been completed, I have some books that I'm obviously currently reading right now. I've read 12,812 pages, which is okay. It's not super high. It's a fair number of smaller books. I do have quite a range from 100 pages to 900 pages. That is actually quite nicely arched. I'm quite pleased with that. In former years it's been quite heavy on the shorter books, and I want to read more pages. That's what I'm aiming for, to read more pages. So quite happy with that. The one thing that is changing already, I already know it is my audiobook listening is next to nothing. So far of the books I've finished, I have listened to 2 hours of audiobook. That is already increased. I have listened to maybe 10 hours of the books that I'm looking at right now that aren't finished, which is Warstorm by Victoria Aveyard and The Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I'm listening to a lot of that on audio, so that is increasing. For some reason I just fell off the audiobook bandwagon, and I don't know why, because it's so helpful for me to be able to listen to a book while I'm at work. My job is, to an extent, once I've learnt the skills, repetitive in a way. I know what I'm doing, and so audiobooks are great. It's nice to have an audio distraction while I'm working, and I usually do YouTube videos, but why not do audiobooks? I've only had 1 DNF so far this year. I'm quite happy with that, because I have not wanted to DNF any of the other books that I've been reading. It was A Tall History of Sugar by Cordella Forbes. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm more than happy with that, because it's not because I forced myself to read books, it's because I've been enjoying them. 60% of the books that I have been reading have been in series, which I'm pretty happy with. Less happy with the fact that a fair number of those are me starting new series. That's not great. But I'm at least reading the series that I have on my shelves that I really do need to be getting to. So I'm very happy about that, and I want to keep that up. For the genres, I have read so far from 9 genres in total, and to go with the top 3 from bottom to top, the third place is non-fiction with 5 books. Second place is sci-fi with 11 books, and first place is fantasy with 13 books. Fantasy surprises no one, nada. This is going to happen, it's my life, hello. I read a lot of fantasy, but one of my goals for 2023 was to read more sci-fi. I really enjoy sci-fi, I love SFF, science fiction fantasy books, and sci-fi is 100% underrepresented in my shelves, in my reading, and I wanted to boost that this year. So the fact that it is the second one on here, and I've read 11 sci-fi books without trying particularly hard so far this year, very happy about that. One that I'm less happy about is that I've read mostly newer books. So I have read 6 books from 2023, that's fine, I know what they're from. Those 6 books come from Goldsboro. And so yeah, I've just read the new books that I got from Goldsboro. That comes every month in the Goldsboro Science Fiction Fantasy box. That's fine. But I've read 8 books from 2022. I have a lot of books from a while ago. That's not when I bought them, that's when they were published, and I have a lot of older books that have been sat on my shelves for a long time, and I really need to get to them. I feel like I'm slightly giving in to the hype. Which, to be fair, is my life. If I want to give in to hype I can do, but still, I need to pay attention to that. The most read publisher on my shelves so far this year is skewed pretty heavily by the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. So it's Pam Macmillan, because there's 5 books in that series. So that, combined with a couple other books I read from Pam Macmillan, means they have went through the roof with how many books I read from them. So yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if anyone else beats that out. Also, like, if I manage to read 5 books by any other authors. I don't think so, but we'll see. And my average rating so far this year is 4 stars. I've had such a good reading year, like, to the point where it is slightly confusing. Like, that one book I DNF'd was the only book that I really didn't like. I'm saying this and now I'm paranoid that I've given something like 2 stars or something. I've just rechecked my list, and other than the book that I DNF'd, I've given everything 3.5 stars or higher. So no wonder my average rating is 4 stars. I've had an amazing reading year so far. Like, it's slightly ridiculous. Every month I'm like, oh my god, I hope next month is as good as this month, and it is. So I'm complaining about reading the newer books and reading these books and reading those books, but maybe I should just stick with what I'm doing because I'm having a good time. The last 2 stats that are about the books themselves rather than the authors is the representation, both for LGBTQ+ representation and disability representation. There are 3 categories. There is absent, there is present, so it just happens to appear in some characters in the book, and main character. For main character, primarily, excluding a couple of exclusions, obviously, I'm doing if they have a point of view, then they are a main character. LGBTQ+ representation, 52% of the books I'm reading do not have any. Some of that is because some of the books I'm reading are a little bit older. I'm reading some classics, I'm reading some books that came out, you know, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy books came out in the late 80s, early 90s. It wasn't as prevalent back then unless the author was LGBTQ+ themselves. So that is part of the reason. However, it is too low. It is vastly too low, and I really want to work on changing that with the books that I read in the second half of this year. It's split 25% main characters and 23% just present in the book. So hopefully that will improve. But at least I'm reading approximately, it's 52 and 48%, but I'm reading 50-50, and that's not great, but it's better. Like, that could be a lot worse, so I'll take that. The disability representation looks a lot better, and I don't think it is. So there's 27% of the books have no rep, 60% of them have something present, with 14 having a main character who's disabled. Some of those 60% are great representation, but I know that some of those 60% are minor characters, barely mentioned. It's not a significant portion of the story, and so it feels almost like cheating, if that makes any sense. I definitely need to read more books with disability rep. I've read a couple that have some rep that is similar to my own disabilities, which I've loved reading from. So yeah, I really do need to up that disability rep. Any recommendations in the comments, please? Thank you, I need them. And then I'm gonna stand up just to move slightly, because we are going to talk about the authors. Oh, it's warm. It's another very hot day. If you saw my Waypoint books unboxing, which you should go look at, I was hot on that day as well. Why do I keep filming when it's warm? Because there's sunshine. That's why. I'm dying. The authors themselves. First up is the representation that I have of authors of colour. That is only 35% of the books that I'm reading, and 60-odd% of that is Asian authors. So I've been reading a lot of Asian authors lately, nothing wrong with that, but I was just surprised. I didn't realise quite how high that was. I'd like to include more Indigenous, Black, Hispanic authors, just to kind of round that out and make that more representative, but also the fact that it's only 35%. I need to fix that. I was having this discussion with my partner, and I've decided that it needs to get to a minimum of 50%. A minimum. Because way more than 50% of the population is not white. So, but I live in England, which, whilst we do have lots of diversity, is primarily a white country. So, balancing that out, you know? Hopefully one day I'll get it much higher, but that's what I'm aiming for currently. That's like my target. So I need to read a lot more books by authors of colour for the rest of the year. In terms of whether the authors are new to me or whether I'm coming back to an author that I've read from time and again, 50-50. 50-50 of brand new authors and authors that I've already read and loved, which I'm kind of here for. I'm continuously increasing my repertoire of authors I want to read more from, whilst still reading from authors that I know I've enjoyed. So I'm quite happy with that. And then the nationality, which I'm less happy with. So lots of different nationalities from all over the globe, but the top 3 from 3rd place is Japanese, with 5 books. I know that 2 of those were mangas and the other 3 were translated novels. Then 10 books are from England specifically. I split up the UK. I want Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales to be categorised themselves so I can actually see how many of those authors I'm reading, and so far this year it's none. None. 0. Nil point. Just 10 English authors, that's it. And then the shameful statistic. I apologise to my ancestors. There's 11 books from the United States of America. That is my most read country. Ah! I hate that I read so many American books. It's partly because of the hype, it's partly because obviously I'm wanting to read more diversely, and a lot of the diverse authors that actually get published in English and get all the promotion are American or first or second or third generation American immigrants. Unfortunately, it's mainly Americans. I want to change that. I'm not American. It shouldn't be primarily what I'm reading. I should be reading more from Europe, if anything. More than a quarter of the books I've read so far this year have been from Americans, and that needs to change. Like, no offence to any Americans, although any Americans who are watching this who are my actual friends highly agree with me. I love you all. But yeah, I really need to fix that and make sure that I'm focusing more on reading from authors globally and not just America. Like, there's not even Canadian, not even Mexican, America. Nah. So yeah. That could be better. Could have been worse. Could be better. Now I'm gonna go sit back down. I thought moving would make me feel less warm. It hasn't. I'm still really warm. So those are my reading stats for the first half of 2023. Some good, some bad. Not too much that's ugly. So let me know in the comments down below. Obviously I'm wanting some more disability representation from you folks. If you've got any good books to recommend, I don't want to add to my physical TBR, but I need to. I think we need to agree that I need to. But also let me know how many books you've read so far this year, and if you're worried, 1 book is amazing, half a book is amazing, 700 books is slightly ridiculous. What do you do with your time? Tell me your secrets. But yes, so it doesn't matter how many books you've read, like, I just track it because I want to see how well I'm doing at getting through this physical TBR I own. So that's just for me. Don't worry if you've read no books, or no books, or if you read loads. That's not what we're here for. It's just fun to kind of see how the stats are going and how things break down for those books, for those 40 books, how they break out. But yes, thank you so much for watching, folks. If you'd like to see how I manage the reading for the rest of 2023, please do hit the subscribe button down below. I am surprisingly close to 1,000 subscribers. I don't know how this has happened. But very excited. So yes, if you hit the subscribe button, then you'll help me to hit 1,000 and we can see what I end up reading for the rest of the year. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye!